Bournemouth have had a bad start to the Premier League season, losing 9-0 to Liverpool and already changing managers. We will be starting this rebuild with Scott Parker in charge, and I'm not sure how much he was to blame for the club's form. When you combine an already limited budget with some of the other newly promoted clubs like Nottingham Forest bringing in 20+ players, avoiding relegation, let alone finishing mid-table, is always going to be a challenge. While the number of rivals was limited, I do rate the quality of the transfers. For example, Marcos Senesi, a lot of interest for him. Bournemouth really reached for this move, ultimately agreeing on a 13.5 million transfer fee. A longtime Middlesbrough player in Marcus Tavernier joining for just about 10 million. And also Neto arriving on a free. This is a really interesting move because I feel like he can play sort of a mentor role for Bournemouth's young goalkeeper, Mark Travers. While the summer transfer window may have come and gone, I do want to take a different approach for this rebuild and improve Bournemouth's defense, which in my opinion is the weakest area of the squad. We've got a former West Ham Youth Academy graduate with Reese Oxford, who since he moved to the Bundesliga has excelled, and I'm hoping that with his addition, the club can better transition to the pace of the Premier League, and perhaps this is the right situation for Oxford to return to England. We will also be adding a homegrown talent to the squad, Jordan Brooks, starting as a center midfielder with a 57 overall and 81 to 94 potential. Taking a look at his pace and shooting attributes, I think striker will be his best fit, giving him a +10 in his rating to 67. Let's not forget about our Youth Academy scout, starting with a 4-star one who will stay in England for the entirety of the season, searching for any type of player. I'm also going to be adding 2 additional 4-star scouts to cover some other top nationalities for Bournemouth's Youth Academy. We've got a scout in Wales for 9 months searching for any type of player, as well as the Republic of Ireland for the remainder of the season. Certainly one of the factors at play with Bournemouth's form is their strength of schedule, and while this isn't an exact replica, we do still have a very difficult month of August. I'm hoping that this squad can help us avoid relegation and maybe even push higher to meet that board expectation of finishing mid-table. As we catch up on results in January, we've done just that, if not a bit more, as things stand at 7th place in the Premier League, just outside of European qualification, and our starting 11 has seen some overall improvements with this 5 at the back formation. It seems to have significantly improved our defense, but for our Youth Academy, we haven't seen all that many improvements for our homegrown talent. Brooks still at a 70 overall rating, but we have managed to find 2 additional players with Ronan Scanlon. The Irish left winger is also at a 70 overall, 91 to 94 potential. Bryn Leaf is a 61 rated Welsh center attacking mid, potential a bit lower at 81 to 91. Things stayed pretty consistent in the league standings. Wolves no longer in first, but we will stay in that 7th place spot, which in some cases can secure us European qualification. The 2 other newly promoted clubs, Nottingham Forest and Fulham, will be returning to the championship alongside Brentford, with Burnley and Watford securing automatic promotion. We saw a 3rd round exit in the FA Cup, losing to Preston, and it's Aston Villa who, despite a mid-table finish in the Premier League, do go on to win the competition. Also a 3rd round exit in the Carabao Cup, albeit to a Premier League opponent with Newcastle United. It's our rivals Southampton who actually win the competition against Crystal Palace. We'll definitely expand on that rivalry storyline later on in this rebuild, but PSG defeat Manchester United in the Champions League final, Bayer Leverkusen get the win against Napoli in the Europa League, and it's Roma to defeat Spurs in the Conference League. When Dominic Solanke is healthy like he was for the 21-22 season, he can definitely put up some great goal numbers, and fortunately he was healthy for this first season in the rebuild. I've heard a lot of Bournemouth fans speak highly of Jordan Samora, so glad to see he was able to secure a +7 in his overall growth this season. We're in a good shape for our manager rating, and we have a lot of momentum going to the 2nd season of this rebuild. This is the first time in realistic rebuild history that we are doing a manager change halfway through the episode, but with Gary O'Neill now in charge as interim manager, I thought it was only the right thing to do. Unfortunately, we can't change our manager name, but the objectives will have no impact. We're trying to get into Europe, and we'll just see what happens this year. 31 million to work with in the transfer budget, so still really not too much compared to other teams in the league. However, we do get a big offer from Roma for Philip Billing, and he just seems like the kind of player that Jose Mourinho would maybe want to sign. And for 12.5 million, it's not a bad fee at all, especially with some tactical changes ahead. I turned toward the Belgian Pro League and Anderlecht talent Jari Verscharen as our first signing. I may not be an expert when it comes to Belgian football, but I know a decent amount about Anderlecht, and historically they have let their players leave for anywhere between 20 to 30 million when clubs start knocking on their door. Despite his young age, Verschaeren already offers over 100 senior appearances for Anderlecht, and I know he can bring that same experience to us at Bournemouth. Well, we turn towards an English right wing back for our next signing, and Jaden Bogle is another player that has had some injury problems, but prior to that, I would consider him as one of England's best prospects in defense, and a move away from Sheffield United would probably make sense at this stage in his career, as they seem to have stagnated in the championship. For financial terms, it's an excellent offer, as we only had to pay 1 million more than his current evaluation to finalize the deal. I thought it would also be interesting to sign a player that Gary O'Neill has previously managed while he was an assistant coach for Liverpool's under-23s. Sepp van den Berg is a bit on the lower side for his overall rating, but his potential is decent, and I think he can play a good squad rotational role for us. Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool seem to also be okay with letting him go on a reasonable fee. If it counts for anything, our first 2 matches in the Premier League should put us on a positive trajectory for the rest of the year. Here is our starting 11 of choice. As you can see, we have switched to a 4-3-3 attacking, which seems to be what O'Neill was most familiar with during his time at Liverpool. However, I could also see them using the 4-4-2 formation that they used in the victory against Nottingham Forest. Whatever tactic we use, as long as Solanke keeps scoring goals like he did in our opener, then only good things can happen. January 2023. And just like last year, we are in the top half of the Premier League standings, 7th place, and not many points behind even Champions League qualification. This may be a young Bournemouth squad, but it is not stopping us from getting the results we need. And we do get an interesting offer for Senesi. Now that we've switched to a forward-the-back formation, I feel like letting him have a loan spell at a big club like Barcelona is the right thing to do before we decide on what his permanent future will be like. With 3 big matches to close out our Premier League season, starting with this one against Chelsea. If we can get a win, then we could potentially leapfrog them in the standings, hop into top 4 of the league table. It's asking a lot, but we'll see what happens in these gameplay highlights. But I've got to say, right from the get-go, Chelsea came to play. It's Dominic Calvert-Lewin who has made the transfer away from Everton, who gives Chelsea the first goal. And I think one thing that we are lacking is experience in situations like this. Previously, we were trying to avoid relegation. Now we're trying to take that next step to European qualification. And facing up against opponents like Chelsea is the best thing we can do at this stage. We do manage to pull 1 goal back courtesy of Yari Verschaeren, making that attacking-minded run from the center attacking mid position. And that really made things a match up until a good effort from Jamie Vardy. Not sure what Chelsea is doing for these transfers, completely changing their attack, but it's an interesting goal and celebration to give Chelsea their 3rd, which means that we will be dropping all 3 points in this one. And it just seemed like we lost focus toward the latter stages of this season, finishing in a 6th place spot, which is good in most situations, but we first need to see the FA Cup and Carabao Cup winners. Watford, Leeds, and Blackburn Rovers will be dropping down to the Championship, with Fulham and Brentford returning back to the Premier League. We lose the Spurs in the 4th round of the FA Cup, and this is where the surprises start to happen. Wolves had a very good season last year. They seem to have carried that forward with a win in the FA Cup this year against Newcastle, and a 4th round exit for us in the Carabao Cup, with Spurs defeating Manchester City in the final. In case you didn't notice, both those teams finished below us in the standings, meaning that we again will see no European qualification next year. Bit upsetting, but it's more time for us to build upon this team. Manchester City defeating Liverpool in the Champions League final, Sporting with the win against Levante in the Europa League final, and it's Milan who surprisingly are in the Conference League, but they get the dub against Vitoria. I do think we need to have a more well-rounded attack if we want to find more success, as Solanke was again the top goal scorer and top assist maker for the club. Checking in on some of our young talents, Jordan Brooks had a +5 in his overall during a season-long loan spell at Stade Rennais. Leaf, unfortunately, we couldn't get him a loan as he only went up +2 in his rating, but Scanlon was the most impressive, a +8 in his overall during a season-long loan in Portugal. I thought this was a very good season, especially being the first one with O'Neill in charge, but our manager rating has dropped significantly and we'll need to improve upon that next year. We've already seen our fair share of changes so far in this rebuild. That is only going to continue in Season 3, as we shift Yari Verschaeren to a center attacking midfielder, and incorporate one of our youth academy players, Scanlon, into the starting 11. He's got potential to be special. He's at a decent overall rating now. I don't see why we don't give him a chance. Board expectations will obviously be crucial for us to achieve, and they're not going to be easy, as the board expects us to finish top 4 in the Premier League, reach the round of 16 of the FA Cup, and still less than 30 million to work with in our transfer budget. So I think we need to turn towards letting some more of our players go. Of course, Senesi spending that half a season on loan at Barcelona. He's going to generate a bit of interest from Spanish clubs, so Atletico Madrid is making an offer just over 50 million. We negotiated that a little bit and raised the fee to 60 million. Didn't get too many realistic offers for Adam Smith, so we'll let him leave to La Liga as well for 6.5 million. Kiefer Moore going to Dusseldorf for 3.5 million. Marsondes going to Burnley for a 2 million fee. And finally, we have Jamal Lowe joining Torino on a 2 million transfer. If we want to utilize our 4-3-3 attacking formation to the fullest, we need to sign a quality holding midfielder. And I think Joao Paulinho can be that for us. In my opinion, he's outgrown his time at Fulham. I was surprised he joined the club IRL and certainly had an 85 overall rating for a newly promoted side. He's looking to move elsewhere. Good player in career mode and offers some European competition experience, which will be our aim to qualify for next season. Jacob Ramsey also making a surprise move to Burnley in this save. You have seen a lot of these Aston Villa Youth Academy players move on from the club in recent years. Jack Grealish to Manchester City, Chukwuemeka to Chelsea, and now Ramsey will be the next talent to move on as he gives us another option in the midfield, signing for 35 million. Every year in the Premier League is a challenge, and it'll be tough for us to follow up another quality performance, but I think the improvements being made to our starting 11 can help us get the job done, and that showed in our very first match, a 3-1 win away from home against Manchester City. And as we review results in January 2024, we have seen the jump up to 5th, which will get us Europa League next season if we can hold our form. With that said, we are still trying to let some more of these players grow in their sharpness and our chemistry in the starting 11. We're pushing all the way forward to the final Premier League match day against our rivals Southampton. I promised you guys we were going to build upon that storyline. What a moment it could be. A draw may get the job done. A win will mathematically secure us the Premier League title. Sometimes career mode gifts you these sort of opportunities, and I fully intend on making this match entertaining for you guys. It's James Ward-Prowse, Southampton's captain, that opens up the scoring, and everything was looking to be an entertaining fixture here. Ramsey, our new signing, does well to get this effort on target, but it's Scanlon to follow up the effort, and the perfect volley finds the back of the net. It's 1-1 within about 20 minutes played. We have another effort here with Solanke making a run from the midfield, going from coast to coast, no pun intended, in this South Coast derby, but that will give us the go-ahead goal, and we are just about 45 minutes away. The second half really didn't see all that many chances, and as a result, we are going to see our first trophy so far in this rebuild. I did not expect us to win a Premier League title with Bournemouth within 3 years, but it has been a historic rebuild so far. I fully intend to keep that going, but we did have a setback in that match as Zamora picked up a big injury. It's an ACL that'll leave him out for 7 months. Here's a look at the final Premier League standings. We could have gotten away with losing that last match, but obviously not knowing that, it's good that we got the win. Fulham getting the bottom spot along with Nottingham Forest and Aston Villa joining teams in the championship. And then for the championship, it's Leeds and Watford to gain promotion to the Prem. For the FA Cup, we didn't get too far, only the 4th round, losing out to Brighton. And it is Southampton who continue to surprise me so far in this rebuild with a win against Liverpool in the final. Carabao Cup losing to Leeds in the 3rd round. And Wolves, another trophy for them as they defeated Arsenal in the cup final. PSG with yet another Champions League trophy, defeating Borussia Dortmund on penalties, and Monaco getting the win against Villarreal in the Europa League final. Napoli defeating Spurs in the Conference League. Solanke in his 3rd consecutive season is the top goal scorer, but we've seen a change for top assists. It's Verscharen and Brooks, both on 9. Glad to see we're finally mixing up some of the top contributors now. Lee finally got a loan spell and went up plus 7 in his overall over the course of the season. Brooks steady with his growth, not exactly an exceptional and top youth academy talent, but still a good squad rotational player. Scanlon's been the impressive one though. He's up to an 86 overall, truly has that potential to be special, and at a 79 manager rating, we've seen to be pretty steady here with Bournemouth. It's the dawn of a new era, Champions League nights at the Vitality Stadium, and we are again anticipating some changes to our starting 11. The most pressing area is to find at least a season-long, if not long-term replacement at the left back position for Zamora. And for board expectations, we've got to expect similar things. We need to win the Premier League, reach the quarterfinals of the FA Cup, and our first Champions League season, we need to reach the final. Luckily, our group is very manageable. We've got Inter, Club Brugge, and Olympiacos. I think we can reach the knockout stages. We'll see how we do. But our transfer budget also seeing a rise. That is the bonus of qualifying for European competition. So we have $65 million to work with. We don't necessarily need to let any of our high-profile players leave like we need to in previous years. So for left back, I think Aaron Hickey is the right kind of player to bring in. Recently signed for Brentford, recently made his Scotland debut. So obviously he has a bright future ahead. And since he's still at Bologna in this save, I think it's the time for him to make his move to the Premier League. I know 40 million is a lot to be spending on an 80 rated player, but he is one of the top potential left wing backs in career mode, and I know he will pay out to be a future talent here at Bournemouth. Sander Berge is another unique player that I've been wanting to bring in. Despite his height of 6'5", he is technically sound on the ball, and is also versatile enough to be featuring at center defensive mid, center mid, or probably even center back if need be. It's a 27.5 million arrival for the Norwegian talent, and that will allow Jefferson Lerma to be going backwards to the center back role, which he has featured at for Bournemouth. A few rotational players will be going out of the club. Jack Stacey joining Granada for 10 million, Chris Mepham to Hertha Berlin for 10 million. Ben Pearson also going to the Bundesliga as he arrives at Hoffenheim for 5.5 million. And that'll conclude our summer transfers as we kick off our season against Southampton in the FA Community Shield. Should be a good match as they are our rivals and we've featured against them so many times, but here is the team sheets. I think we've got the quality to be competing both in the Premier League and the Champions League. And unfortunately, we aren't able to begin our season with a win as Ward-Prowse ultimately scores the winning goal. Not sure why he isn't the club captain outside of maybe being substituted later in the match. But as we review results in January 2025, we have started to drop a bit in the Premier League, and I think this is pretty similar to what has happened to teams that win the Prem. We, as anticipated, are by far one of the two best teams in our Champions League group alongside Inter, Club Brugge, and Olympiacos, only sharing 2 points. We have a few morale issues, and I think strengthening this team might be the best thing for us moving forward. Antonin Barak is a talent that has recently moved from Hellas Verona to Fiorentina after an exceptional season in Serie A, and even though he's 30 years old, he's going to give us another option at that center attacking mid or even striker spots. We will spend 25 million to bring him in, and we may as well use those funds as we are going to continue getting more and more at our disposal in future years. Marcus Tavernier, as a result, will be joining Newcastle United on a 12.5 million transfer. But here we go in the Champions League, round of 16 against Real Madrid. I don't have too high expectations. I know our team is quality, but Real Madrid, although they haven't done too much in this rebuild, are always going to be one of the favorites in the Champions League. 2-1 though in the first leg, goals from Solanke and Verscharen, and a 2-0 outing in the second leg puts us through to the quarterfinals against Juventus. A 0-0 scoreline despite us getting 15 shots, 10 of which on target, and Juve make the most of the away fixture as Vlahovic, Chiesa, and Tielemans score 3 goals to end our European hopes. But at the end of the season, we have a crucial match against Wolves. We need a win in order to guarantee our spot in the Champions League next year. It's pretty much the last trophy we're looking to check off as we have achieved most of what we want to do domestically in England. And we're already in the second half as Adama Traore with a great run, but 2 fantastic saves from Travers denies those efforts, and we are going to see Barak's debut. As we weren't generating too many attacking chances, I figured we may as well switch things up. And it's Brooks to Barak to get the first goal Took 70 minutes, but we finally get that go-ahead lead, and that was just enough for us to get 3 points and guarantee us Champions League football again for Season 5. A big drop-off for Everton is they may not even get European football next year, but relegation spots, it's pretty typical with Leeds, Watford, and Crystal Palace seeing the drop to the Championship, Fulham and Aston Villa returning to the Premier League. Of course, we began our season with a loss in the FA Community Shield, but we make up for that with a win in the FA Cup. Seems like a lot of these Championship teams go far in the competition as we defeated Aston Villa in the final, further establishing our dominance with a victory in the Carabao Cup, the only goal coming from Brooks. So 2 trophies for us this year. I wouldn't call this season a complete write-off. Despite our exit in the quarterfinals of the Champions League, Atletico Madrid defeating Borussia Dortmund 3-0. Milan get a win against Porto in the Europa League final 4-1, and Stade Rennais defeating Hoffenheim in the Conference League 2-0. Solanke's goal numbers continue to rise with 28 from 61. It's the perk of being in European competitions as Verscharen gets 15 assists. As for our manager rating, it has seen another drop to 60, but I think this Bournemouth team is only going to get stronger moving forward. After a few seasons with the 4-3-3 attacking formation, I've decided to switch over to the 4-2-3-1 as it gives us a little bit more versatility in where we can put our players. But board expectations, we have seen a drop-off in some categories, only needing to finish in a top 4 position for the Premier League, but we do need to win the Champions League this time around. So we'll see how things go, as our group have Villarreal, Benfica, and Celtic, and our transfer budget still not yet reaching 100 million, but getting pretty close. I do think it's time to let our top talent of the rebuild go. It's been a couple of good seasons with Ronan Scanlon, but with a big offer from Manchester City comes in, you at least need to consider it, and Pep was willing to give us 200 million for this deal. As one of the world's best talents, we've got some competition in the Premier League moving forward. As a replacement player, I thought Calum Hudson Nodoy would be a really interesting signing. I feel like it wasn't only a few years ago in 2020 when a 70 million bid was rejected from Bayern. I'm not sure he goes for anywhere near that evaluation anymore, but in this rebuild, he's up to an 86 overall rating. And although a slight downgrade, he has a good future ahead. Not really looking to improve in too many other areas, as we will start our season with a match against Liverpool in the FA Community Shield. And as long as some of our other players step up, I think we have a good chance of checking off some of the other competitions. We once again see a loss in the Community Shield, but in January 2026, we are in the running for the Premier League title, only 3 points behind Manchester United for the top spot. Also winning our group, going undefeated, which is big. When we get into the knockout stage fixtures, we should have easier opponents. We'll get right into the round of 16 against Borussia Dortmund. Our squad's in good shape, morale is fantastic, and that momentum is pushing us forward to some victories as we win 3-0 in the away fixture and 1-0 in the home leg. Quarterfinals against Chelsea, getting some English opposition, and once again, I thought we were going to see a replica of last year as we had a lot of shots but no goals, but fortunately we get a victory in the second leg 1-0 courtesy of a goal from Yari Verscharen. Semifinals against Liverpool, and it's always going to be a fast-paced outing against them. They have signed a talented prospect with Pedro Gonçalves, but we really came to play 3-0 in the first leg, 3-0 in the second leg, and now we will play Real Madrid in the Champions League final. As a look at the Premier League standings, we'll finish third, so we won't be repeating in that category, but it's Bristol, City, Brighton, and Blackburn Rovers to see the drop to the Championship. We know we haven't secured the Premier League title nor the FA Community Shield, but maybe we can make up for it with a different trophy. FA Cup, we make it all the way to the quarterfinals, but lose to Swansea City on penalties, with Wolves again getting another cup as they defeat Liverpool on penalties. We will, though, win the Carabao Cup against Manchester United. It was a late goal from Brooks to get his brace and secure us our first of potentially 2 trophies this season. Southampton with a victory against Wolfsburg in the Europa League final, and Juventus defeating Marseille in the Conference League. Before we get into our Champions League final, we'll look back at some former players, starting with our Youth Academy talent, Scanlon. He's still at a 91 rating at Manchester City, and Senesi has moved a bit within Spain as he joined Villarreal and is now at an 85 overall. I also thought it would be cool to look back at some former Bournemouth players like Aaron Ramsey, still at Arsenal at an 86 rating, and Nathan Ake at Manchester City with an 81 overall. Perhaps the biggest surprise is Manchester City prospect Morgan Rogers has made the transfer to St. Mirren. Don't think I've ever recalled a player at his rating making that move, but you see something new every day on career mode. But without further ado, it's time for the Champions League final. We've had quite the journey with Bournemouth, going from this squad to this team to feature in our final match. Let's try to end this rebuild on a positive note. I was not expecting Jane Anthony to feature in this Champions League final, but due to suspension for Hudson Nodoy, he had to get the start, and he made a pretty good impact from the get-go. We're nearly at the halftime break, and our front three really was contributing well. We just couldn't seem to get that opening goal, but we're going to get the breakthrough here with Brooks down the right side, finding Verscharen in the middle, and the far post finish goes off the post and in. That is the lead we were looking for, and it's Verscharen to find Solanke now to double our efforts. 60 minutes played, and we have a 2-0 advantage. I wouldn't call this match over yet, as Real Madrid certainly have the attacking quality, but Verscharen and Solanke just seem to have the chemistry as they've played together for a couple of seasons now at Bournemouth, and it's clear that we were the better team. As we'll close out the rebuild with the trophy lift. It's been a fun 5 seasons with Bournemouth. With what started as a club trying to avoid relegation, saw a manager change in season 2, but quickly rose to the top. If you enjoyed the rebuild, make sure to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel for future content, and leave a comment what realistic rebuilds you'd like to see next.